And we are back with GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and sorry for, being a little bit late for the live segment. I was in an intense and heated debate talking about whether or not Eli Manning was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he is, but if you guys want, to hear the whole story and the whole segment, you can go ahead and tune into the football podcast. I believe Kenneth already made a segment where he explains, his opinions on Eli Manning being a first ballot Hall of Famer, whether or not, if you guys are interested in talking about football, if for all of you guys who are American in the show that you guys tune in. But that's besides the point. We're not here to talk about football. We are here to talk about basketball. So today is the semifinals matchup. This matchup determines who is going to advance to the final round and play for gold, and who is going to fight for bronze medal, and who is going to be in third place, or who's going to compete for third place. This is the matchup that decides it. Right now, for the first segment, that's what I'm going to be talking about, and I'll mainly be talking about the France and the Germany game that's going on right now, how it's been going, because right now we're in the third quarter of that game, so I'm just going to talk about how the half was. And then in the second segment, there was a recent, I saw an article where Quinn Cook was talking about how he believes that Steph Curry is better than Magic Johnson, so I'm just going to give my opinions on that and whether I agree or disagree. Then in the third segment, I'm going to talk about how the Warriors, Steph and Draymond, they're very excited with the moves that the Warriors made in the offseason, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about that. Then in the fourth segment, I'm going to talk about the conclusion of this game, Germany against France, because, again, like I said before, it is in the third quarter, so by the time I get to the fourth segment, the game should be over already. And before I begin, we also have a special fifth segment that I reveal at the end of the fourth segment, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And as usual, please remember to use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every show segment, or use either super stickers or the super chat as well. Really helps the show, makes it much more interactive between myself and you guys. And once again, the link is in the description as well as below the ticker on every show segment. And without further ado, let's go right ahead and talk about this semifinal matchup between France and Germany. Right now, the score is 56-50. I believe that was what the score was. Right now, they're going into a timeout, so I couldn't really see the live score. But the game was very, very close at halftime. The score at halftime was 33-33. And, again, it was very, very close. There was, I don't expect there to be any sort of blowout wins in this tournament going forward, unless it's, the United States. This it's very competitive because, a lot of these teams are going to be much more evenly matched than the United States against any other team. The Serbian team, the Serbian coach said that this was the best national team ever assembled, and this is, counting the Dream Team. This is also counting the Redeem Team. I personally, when it's all said and done, maybe I'll go ahead and I'll just do a review of the past best Olympic teams ever assembled in basketball, and I'll just talk about that. Let me know in the comments if that's what you guys want. But this is, considered to be one of the best Olympic rosters ever formed. And, other than the United States, I don't think there's going to be any other game that's going to be, that's going to have blowouts. I don't think there's any other team that's going to blow out another team if it isn't the United States. Now, this is how the bracket looks as of right now for the men's standings. And again, as I mentioned before, whoever advances forward. I think France is going to advance forward, especially, with how this game is going. And again, I said the United States was going to advance and win the gold, so we still have to wait on that. The United States game, I believe that doesn't happen until maybe 3 o'clock after this game has concluded. And usually the United States games are always at 3 o'clock, but at halftime, for halftime, I just wanted to, give off the halftime stats. So again, the score was 33-33 at halftime, a very low scoring game, and it was Victor Wembanyama. You might have thought that Victor wasn't, he hasn't really been. Oh my God, someone just broke Victor's ankles. Oh, and he missed. Ooh, that's gonna hurt him. He could have been internet famous for about 2 days just for breaking Wemby's ankles. But aside from that, I mean, the rest of the team hasn't really been playing that well. In the half, they went 1 for 12 from 3. Yet somehow they were still tied, which just goes to show you just how great this, French team is. The fact that they can go 1 for 12 and they can still be tied in this game. And meanwhile, Germany was going 4 for 12 and they were still struggling. Now, the players that have been, I was going to say the good players, I apologize for that, but there are a lot of players on Germany that haven't seen the court and haven't really produced that much, despite the fact that they've seen the court. Like, for example, Franz Wagner, I mean, he's playing pretty well right now. I mean, he was, at the first half, he had 7 points and was 1 for 3 from 3, but there are several other players that aren't really, doing their justice, like France's brother, Mortice Wagner, who ended up going 1 for 4 from the field in the half, as well as, just 1 for 4 on 2-point shots. So it's not very ideal. Dennis Schroeder, he went 2 for 5 in the first half and was 1 for 3 from 3. And it's not really like, no one has really stood out in this game. It's been very, very, I guess you could say, defensive-minded, and a lot of players, I mean, they're shooting poorly. If you guys curious what's going on, like one of the German players just airballed very badly and it hit nothing but the backboard. It was gross. But as of right now, the third quarter just ended and the score is 56-50. I think these players, I don't know what it is, they might be a little bit nervous. I don't know. That's sort of what it looks like, because these performances, at least the play that I'm seeing in these games, it's very mid. It's not all that. You don't really see anybody taking over the game. It seems like everybody on the court is a little bit nervous. Now, I don't know how this is going to fare against the United States, because, if we're being totally frank, if you were to get this nervous against the United States, you would immediately lose and the United States would pounce on you like this. And so the fact that the game is still close, despite the fact that these guys, they aren't really playing all that well and no one's really stepping up, it just goes to show you where they're at in this game and where they're at mentally. Because I'm not even going to lie, Victor is playing horrible. He is playing horribly in these games. He's 3 for 14 from the field with 7 points, 0 for 5 from 3, 3 for 9 from inside the arc, and again, it's just horrible. Now, there are a lot of times where he is getting double teamed, but there are also a lot of times where he has the ball and he's just not doing much with it. And for someone who is so much taller than everyone else on the court, I don't really expect this from him. And again, the players of the game are Gershon Yabusele, who has 15 points on 7 for 10 from the field, and Isaiah Cordiner. And I've mentioned these guys in the previous segment where they had these surprising games. It looks like these two are the driving force for the French team, especially in this matchup right now. He is crazy locked in these games. Isaiah Cordier, 6 for 11 from the field, 14 points. They're both the leading scorers for this team, and Victor has taken more shots than both of them. It just goes to show you just how well they're playing. And it's really the fact that, the French team is able to have this kind of, lead, I guess you could say, without Victor playing really well, just goes to show you just how good this French team really is. Now, should also be noted, Rudy Gobert has barely seen the floor in a lot of these games. Barely seen the floor. In these tournament he's only seen the court for 5 minutes in this game. Just goes to show you, how valuable he is in an era where there's, so much spacing at the three-point line. I mean, I think France just has way too much inside threats, and, having Rudy Gobert there would only make things a little bit worse. I don't know, but it's maybe because they did play against Germany before, and they did lose with Germany with Rudy Gobert in the starting lineup against Germany and playing consistent minutes. So maybe this was sort of like their adjustment to Germany's lineup, trying to fix the lineup as well as they possibly can. And I mean, they're getting a lot of steals, they're getting a lot of turnovers. It's just Germany is really like having trouble hitting these threes. They just hit one right now, but they're really having trouble hitting these threes. And like this matchup between France and Germany, obviously, it's one of those matchups that, quote, could feed families, because it's like, it's very competitive. And compared to what the United States is going to play against Serbia, I think this is going to be the only competitive game in the men's standings as of going forward, because I don't think the finals is going to be that competitive. Now, the third place matchup might be competitive, but but I don't really think it will be, compared to this game and how competitive this game is. Because, while I feel like the athletes, they get more drive out of them when they're fighting for gold and when they're fighting for a spot for gold, I think if you win the bronze medal, that's like a slap in the face, but that's just me. And again, Dennis Schroeder, he's definitely picked it up for Germany a little bit, but really Germany just is struggling to find shots and is struggling to find a decent rhythm for to combat against the French team. The French are playing really well, and at least to enter this next half, they're playing a lot better than what they played in the first half. Maybe because now the home field advantage is working for them, but they seemed very nervous at the start, but now they sort of they've gotten a feel for it seems like. And the German team is just struggling to hit three-pointers. If they were to be hitting their three-pointers in this game, I think this would be a blowout for the German team. But that's really all that I have to talk about in this matchup. Again, the United States, they're going to play a little bit later once this game has concluded. And, I mean, this is really, the big game that everyone's been watching right now, because, again, it determines who gets to play for the gold medal between the United States. Now, I know the United States hasn't played yet, but I really feel like they're going to end up making it to the finals and winning the gold altogether. But aside from that, we're going to go ahead and go into the second segment, where I talk about a little bit of an article, just a little bit of the article, because I have, opinions on this. But Quinn Cook, he recently named Steph Curry the greatest point guard of all time over Magic. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned for my thoughts on that, and I will be right back.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the second segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this second segment, I'm going to be looking at an article that talking about Steph Curry being named the greatest point guard over Magic Johnson, because this was when Quinn Cook said this. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that in this second segment. But before I begin, I would like to remind everybody to please use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every single show segment. That is GSMCpodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes it much more interactive between myself and you guys. Once again, the link is GSMCpodcast.net. And without further ado, let's go right ahead and go into this second segment. So the headline of this article is social media is going crazy after Quinn Cook named Steph Curry the greatest point guard of all time. And this talk about Steph Curry being the greatest point guard, it all really happened once Curry finally won his first Finals MVP for the Golden State Warriors. Like, I remember this is sort of when, like, the argument started, like, oh, Steph is the best point guard now, and things like that. Now, the Warriors, like, the star Steph Curry, he doesn't frequently come up in GOAT debates unless, you know, you're talking to a delusional Curry fan, but he does have a very, very impressive resume that's really hard to ignore. He's achieved nearly every accolade possible in the sport except winning a gold medal, which is going to happen now in these Olympics. So once that finishes, he's going to be able to win, or like he's going to have every single accolade you possibly could ask for in a basketball player. Now, Curry's former teammate Quinn Cook recently stirred the pot by asserting Curry's superiority over legendary point guard Magic during an appearance on Dwight Howard's Above the Rim podcast. Now, there was quote saying, "Dwayne Wade don't want no parts of Steph Curry," Cook said. This is what Cook said in a quote. And it took a sharp turn when DeMarcus Cousins defended D. Wade, and he called him the third best shooting guard of all time, which he is, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. Cook responded by shifting the focus back to Curry, declaring him the number one point guard of all time. When Cousins questioned whether Cook truly believed Curry surpassed Magic Johnson, Cook confidently replied with, "Yes, sir." However, fans did not hesitate to join the debate, while a pile of them supported Cook's remarks, and they echoed the same sentiments with Cook, sharing their support for Cook's bold claim. Now, according to this article, it's saying that Quinn Cook knows ball, and that, he's, like, for lack of a better term, and a lot of people seem to really believe that that Steph Curry is the better player when compared to Magic Johnson. Now, Magic Johnson might not have been, like a player that I've seen in my career, right? And, he might not have been the player that I grew up watching, similar to how, Michael Jordan wasn't the player that I grew up watching. But that doesn't mean that I don't know anything about Magic Johnson's greatness, and that I don't know what he's done throughout the entirety of his career. Like, looking at his resume in and of itself, he is arguably, like, in the top 5 or in the top 10 best players ever in basketball. And there is an argument for him being in the top 5, something that I don't think Curry has despite his stouted resume. I mean, 5 rings, 3 finals MVPs, 3 regular season MVPs, 9 finals appearances, all-time leader in assists per game. He was arguably the most complete offensive player that the world has seen before LeBron James. Again, offensive player. I will agree that Magic Johnson, despite his height, is surprisingly very lackluster on the defensive side of the ball. He didn't block shots as well as he probably should have, despite his ridiculous height over all the point guards. He didn't get that many steals, aside from the easy steals that he was able to get steals, but it's not like he was able to stand in front of a defender and pluck the ball out. It was more like, steals in the passing lane and things like that. And not to mention the handle back then, like players' handles of the ball, they weren't really all that. Like, you don't really see many people doing flashy dribbles like that, so it's very easy to steal the ball if you're any good. Now, he also, while many people really look at him for his passing, a lot of people forget just how good of a scorer he was. He averaged 20 points per game for the entirety of his career, for a majority of his career, and he was able to keep up the scoring when Kareem was getting old. And that's sort of like, an underlooked aspect of his game. Like, he wasn't that flashy like Kyrie Irving, and he wasn't that, like, much of a crazy finisher as, Russ or as D. Rose, but he got the job done, and that was really the thing. Like, one of the big things and one of the biggest gripes that I have with Curry was the fact that he was only able to acquire 1 Finals MVP throughout his ridiculous tenure with the Golden State Warriors, where he made the finals like 5 straight years, and was able to continue making the finals despite having a new team, right? Steph Curry, he was never I mean, you could make the argument that he should have won Finals MVP in 2015, but you could also make the argument that Magic Johnson should have won Finals MVP in this year or in that year, depending on which year you're looking at when he made it to the finals. I mean, he made the finals 9 years in his entire NBA career. So it's really difficult to pinpoint exactly when he shouldn't have won or when he should have won the Finals MVP. Like, that would take a really, really deep dive into that. And Steph Curry, while he was great and he was phenomenal in his title runs, aside from 2015 and the year that he won the Finals MVP, there was no argument for him being the best player in the finals at all. I mean, he was a distant third best player in the finals, in two finals actually, behind LeBron and Kevin Durant back in 2017 and in 2018. Wasn't even the best player on the court in the finals in both of those years. And then in the year in 2019, I believe, when Kawhi Leonard took the Raptors to the finals and they faced off against Steph in the finals, Steph choked on the final shot that would have probably sent the game into overtime, and he also didn't really play that well in the final game, in the elimination game, despite being at home, and he also hasn't won a playoff game without Klay Thompson. Like, one of the things, like, it's just, I don't think you can really, I'm trying to focus on this game that's been going on. Right now, France is up 66-55 against Germany right now. But, again, like, the Magic Johnson debate, like, I mean, you could argue that the biggest weakness that Magic Johnson has, like, was his HIV. Like, that was his biggest weakness. And, like, if he didn't do all the things that he did in the 80s, his career probably would have lasted way longer than, and like that's one thing that he has over Steph right now, the longevity of just being great for a prolonged period of time. Steph is working up to there. He's getting there with the longevity, but remember, Magic Johnson made it to the finals in 1991, and he also showed that he was able to take a subpar team to the finals, which is something that Steph Curry has never been able to do. Like, what I'm about to say for Curry also applies to Magic. Like, similar to Steph, both of those two players, like Steph and Magic, they were very fortunate to be drafted in a good situation. For example, Magic Johnson played with a prime Kareem to start his career, and then was able to play with players like James Worthy. Now, it's the same thing with Steph, where he was drafted with, the Golden State Warriors. Now, while it didn't start out as a great situation like the Lakers did, eventually, they proved themselves via drafting. Klay Thompson proved to be an All-NBA player. Draymond Green proved to be an All-NBA defender and an All-NBA player. And they were able to win a championship with that team. And then later on in Steph's career, he was able to play with Kevin Durant, arguably the second best small forward at the time behind LeBron James. And then even later, when Kevin Durant decided to leave, he got the best years of Jordan Poole, he got the best years of Andrew Wiggins, he got Klay Thompson back, coming back from his injury, and still had Draymond Green. So Steph and, Magic, they've never not had talent around their team, especially Steph. The difference between Steph and Magic is that Magic proved that he was able to lead a subpar team to the finals in 1991, something that Steph Curry has yet to do, which is, why I would rank, one of the big catalysts as to why I would rank Magic over Steph Curry. But again, like, there's a lot more to it than that. Like, another reason why I have Magic over Steph is because of his legendary finals performances. Like, for example, Magic's 40-point game that clinched the title in Game 6 as a rookie. Or his 26, 8, and 13 average against Boston, combined with the ridiculous skyhook shot, the skyhook game winner, one of the most popular game winners in NBA Finals history, to finally put the Lakers up 3-1 in that series. Like, there are more memorable moments that Magic Johnson has in the finals and in the clutch than Steph Curry has, period. Like, I can't name you a single moment in the playoffs or even in the finals when Steph Curry was clutch. I can't. Like, there's just, if you guys can name me a moment when Steph Curry was clutch, then go right ahead, try and do that in the comments. I can't name a single moment when Steph was clutch in the finals, or let alone in the postseason. Now, with Magic, on the other hand, I can name several moments when he was clutch, but Steph, not so much. And really, the clutch performances happened from his teammates. Like, for example, in Game 6, Klay Thompson, he hit all of the threes against Oklahoma City when they were coming back 3-1. In 2017 and in 2018, it was Kevin Durant that hit the game-winning shot in Game 3 to seal the game against the Cavs. It wasn't Steph doing that. Steph had terrible Game 3s in both of those series. And there's like so many other moments that, like, you know, other players have. And on top of that, Game 7 against Houston, Steph Curry wasn't playing that well at all in the entire series against Houston. It was more so Houston missing than the Warriors doing like much on the offensive side. And there are just more moments where Magic was clutch than there was moments when Steph was clutch. And combined with that, as well as Magic Johnson being able to lead a mediocre team to the finals, I think this is what puts Magic Johnson over Steph Curry. That, as well as, you know, the fact that Magic has more championship rings, and he also has, you know, more MVPs. Now, he doesn't have more unanimous MVPs, but he's also, like, he's just the more complete player. Like, he's not that flashy, but he's just the more complete player, and his resume definitely shows it. So, that's my opinion on the Steph over Magic debate. Let me know in the comments what you guys think is, who do you guys think is the better point guard? Do you think it's Steph, or do you think it's Magic? I mean, either or. I don't really have, you know, I'm not really, you know, that fixated on that debate. Now, if you had a problem with the GOAT debate, that I could go on for hours and hours and hours. But, you know, with Steph Curry and Magic, I think Steph Curry's resume and the way that his career is turning out, you could make that argument, but I wouldn't make that argument. That's just me. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. So with that out of the way, we're going to continue talking about the Golden State Warriors, mainly about their moves in the offseason and how, you know, Steph and Draymond Green, they seem to be really excited about these moves. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that in the third segment. So be sure to tune in after this short break. I will be right back.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network. Now available on YouTube, absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, I'm just going to be looking at an article that says that Draymond and Steph seem to be very excited about the offseason moves that the Warriors made. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about, you know, my opinions on those offseason moves, whether or not they were hit, whether or not they were miss, things like that. And meanwhile, you know, the France and Germany game is still going on. It's getting very chippy here late in this game, and, you know, it's very, very close. Like, the refs, they're really, like, they're trying to figure out, like, whether or not they made the right call. They're stopping a lot, like, just to, you know, do reviews. Like, they've stopped twice already just to review a play and go back to the instant replay. They really don't want to screw this up. So, I'm just gonna, you know, keep this game in mind. Right now the score is 69-63 in favor of France, And, I'm just going to go ahead and continue on with this segment where, we talk about the Warriors and their recent moves in the offseason. Now, according to Kendra Andrews, from ESPN, Steph Curry and Draymond Green are, quote, excited about the moves the Warriors made this offseason. Now, just a little reminder, the Warriors, they added Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, and DeAnthony Melton after they lost Klay Thompson to the Dallas Mavericks. That was really like a big blow for the Golden State Warriors, losing Klay Thompson. Now, a lot of people, they might argue that it wasn't that big of a blow, given how Klay Thompson has been lackluster in the regular season, as well as the internet meme, that he went 0 for 10 in an elimination game. Like, I'm afraid that's going to be the one thing that Klay Thompson gets remembered for, going 0 for 10 in an elimination game, which I pray isn't the case, because that man was an assassin in his prime, and he was, aside from Steph, he was the one guy that you didn't want to leave open. And one of the things that makes him, in my opinion, Jesus Christ, they hit the side of the backboard on that three, good Lord. But one of the things that I think makes him arguably even better than Steph in the postseason was the fact that in the postseason, Klay actually has a lot of clutch moments where he hits really important three-pointers, something that Steph hasn't done yet in the postseason, at least deep into the postseason, I should say, very deep in the postseason. For example, in the conference finals, in the finals as well, there are so many performances where you can look at Klay Thompson and you just don't want to leave him open. Steph, on the other hand, yes, you don't want to leave Steph open, but there are times where he just misses these easy shots that we see him hit all season long, like in 2016 when he blew a 3-1 lead because his performance was so bad that it caused LeBron and Kyrie Irving to just wipe the floor with them in the final games. But aside from that, Curry, Green, and the Warriors have struck a balance as to how involved the stars want to be in the organization's decisions. Sources told ESPN that neither Curry nor Green want to be final decision makers in regard to roster moves or transactions, but they do want to be consulted. The Warriors missed the playoffs in 2024 after losing the 9-10 play-in game against the Sacramento Kings. Curry, Green, and Klay Thompson, they won 4 championships together, in case you guys forgot. Now, Curry and Green, they will be the first to say it feels weird that Thompson is gone. Andrews wrote ahead of Team USA's run at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. Curry told Andscape he hasn't figured out the emotions yet, while Green told ESPN's Cassidy Hubbarth during Summer League that he has been suppressing my emotions. That was the quote that he said. However, both stars say they are excited about the moves Golden State has made so far this summer, sources said. Now, the article continues, the greatest shooter in NBA history, Curry, averaged 26, 4, and 5 in the 2023-24 while shooting in the 2023-24 season, while shooting 45% from the field, 40% from 3, and 92% from the free throw line. The Warriors can sign Curry to a 1-year, $62 million contract extension this offseason, as Curry signed a 4-year, $215 million extension with the Warriors in August of 2021. He'll make $55.8 million next season and $59.6 million in 2025 and 2026. And a future Hall of Famer, Curry is currently set to become an unrestricted free agent in the offseason of 2026. And if you guys remember from what I've said in previous podcasts, Steph Curry said it himself, it would be very difficult to play on the Warriors again if the Warriors are considered a bottom-feeding team. Meaning that in the year where he becomes a free agent, there is a possibility that he decides to move to a completely new team. Now, depending on whether or not he's still playing this elite basketball in the time is still, we still have to wait and see what the verdict is on that. But if he leaves Golden State, that might be it for their championship hopes. Again, they still have 2 years before his contract expires, but really gotta be careful with that. Really gotta be careful with those 2 years. And right now, France is up 69-65 against Germany with 1 minute left to go in this game. Oh my lord, this is it's getting close. But anyways, Green Draymond Green, the other all-star player on the team now, has 3 years and $77.7 million left on his 4-year deal he signed with the Warriors in 2023. The final season in 2026-2027 is a player option worth $27.7 million. One of the top defenders in NBA history, he averaged 8 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 1 steal as well as 0.9 blocks this past season, while shooting 49, 39, and 73% from, the field overall. Field goal, three-point line, free throw, just in case you guys ever get confused by that. So these moves in the offseason, to complement the fact that Klay Thompson is gone, I get it. I understand why they would want to acquire Buddy Hield, because, Buddy Hield is the three-point shooter that they would lack. Arguably, you could argue that he is a better three-point shooter now than Klay Thompson is right now, but that's besides the point. I do think, however, that Klay Thompson has a much better chance of winning a title in Dallas than he would if he were to stay here. That's really the big thing with this. Ooh, look at Dirk Nowitzki in the seats right there, right next to Tony Parker. But Germany, they're really close to tying this game. The score is 68-70 in favor of France still, but they're really close to tying this game. Now, again, as I mentioned before, with, regarding Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, I do think that Klay Thompson has a better chance of winning a title without Golden State than he does with Golden State, given the team that he's already chosen. But are these good enough moves to sort of make this team a title contender? I don't think so, but at the same time, I'm not going to say no, because the Golden State Warriors have a history of just creating championship teams out of nowhere and getting the best out of their players. I mean, a majority of the reason is because of Steph and his phenomenal basketball play, but you also have to look at the other players that have been playing really well alongside him. In the most recent championship that the Golden State Warriors have won, Jordan Poole played arguably his best basketball ever. Now that he's on Washington, he's not playing nearly as good. And that might have something to do with the Warriors and their coaching mechanisms, their coaching staff. I don't know what it was in the water that they were drinking, but he was phenomenal. And then he just, fell off. Andrew Wiggins was also phenomenal for those years, and then he just fell off. So there's a huge possibility that one of these role players on Golden State just, has the best year of his life, and they're able to catalyst that into the postseason and therefore win the finals in the end. Again, that is a huge reach, but it is not impossible. Again, I was very surprised when the Warriors were able to make it to the finals, despite the fact that they lost Kevin Durant. The Warriors won a title before Kevin Durant, with Kevin Durant, and after Kevin Durant. That doesn't just happen. That really doesn't just happen. You never heard the Cavs winning a title before LeBron, with LeBron, and after LeBron. Never has that happened, ever. It's rare that it happens. Oh, France just missed it. Ooh. Oh, that's going to sting. You guys didn't see what just happened, but Germany, they had the rebound, and the score was, it's still really close. The score is still 70-68. Franz Wagner had the rebound, but he tripped and he fell out of bounds, and the ball went out of bounds, and now it's France's ball yet again. That might have been, he just tripped. That is tough. That might be it for the game, but who knows? Anything can happen. That's unfortunate. It looks like he got tripped there. I think about it. It looks like he got tripped, but oh my lord. Anyways, that's all that I have for this third segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the fourth segment, where I talk about this game that's happening right now. There's 12 seconds left in this game, and the score is 70-68 in favor of France. The crowd is going wild, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this game. So be sure to stay tuned for that in the fourth segment. I'll be right back.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back with the fourth segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this fourth segment, I'm going to talk about the conclusion of this game between France and Germany. This game is still going on right now, and there's 10 seconds left to go. Victor Wembanyama has just been sent to the free throw line, and he has a chance to finally end this game and cement France's spot in the finals. It's all down to Victor Wembanyama making both of these free throws. Let's see what happens. He missed the first one. Oh no, Victor just missed the first free throw. So now this makes Germany's chances of winning the game all that more possible, or even tying the game, because if they hit a ridiculous three-pointer, they can easily tie this game. Victor has not been playing well in this elimination game at all. I don't know what's been going on. I don't know if the stress is finally getting to him, but this is not a very good performance for Victor, and definitely not one that he wants to remember. And here's his second attempt at the line. All right, he makes the second attempt, and now I believe Germany is going to call a timeout to advance the ball and have a chance to tie this game and send this game into overtime. Should also be noted, again, Rudy Gobert has not been playing in these games. Now, that is very, very shocking, because one of the very few players on the French team that has NBA experience is not playing in this game at this very moment, which I think is kind of insane, but it really, this is going to drive a lot of the, the haters, and the naysayers about Rudy Gobert, because he has a lot of them. One of the things about Rudy Gobert is that while he is a very good, defensive player, his offensive game is just not there. He's so tall, but he provides so little on the offensive side of the court. And on top of that, on the defensive side, he's a liability when you want him to guard somebody on the perimeter. And in a league where players switch every single time off the screen, that is not ideal. You do not want to have that kind of liability in these high leverage games. And I believe, I don't want to say that maybe his performance in the postseason is a big reason as to why he's not playing in these high leverage games, because if you remember the postseason, Rudy Gobert got destroyed by Luka Doncic every single time in the pick and roll, got destroyed by Kyrie Irving every single time in the pick and roll. It was way too easy to score in the paint against Rudy Gobert and the pick and roll. Way easier than it should have been. And I don't know, maybe they don't want that same sort of liability to show up here, but as of right now, Germany has the ball. They're about to inbound it with 10 seconds left to go. They have to hit a three if they want even a chance to compete for gold. And France just fouled. Oh, that is lame. That is lame. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you're up by 3 in the final minutes of a game, do you foul, or do you just let the game play out and pray to God that they miss a 3-point shot? I remember there was a debate like this before when LeBron, he said he would foul every single time when he's up by 3 and they've got a few seconds, and just make it into a free throw battle. And oh my God, Dennis Schroeder just missed. Ooh, that's not good. That's not good. Dennis Schroeder just missed the free throw, and now there go Germany's chances, it seems, because I don't think anyone is going to get a rebound over Victor, but there go their chances. I don't know what's going on with these Olympics, but these guys are nervous. Everyone on the court is nervous. And okay, Dennis Schroeder makes the second one, but again, just nerves, man. The nerves, they're getting to everyone. And now Germany, they have to foul yet again and then pray that they can advance the ball up even further to go and to go and have a chance of even competing for gold. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen. Is Rudy Gobert getting subbed in? Oh my God, Rudy Gobert might get subbed in. Well, there's still 9 seconds left to go in this game. Score is 71-69 in favor of France. Again, they're probably going to foul and just, see what happens. And yep, Germany is going to foul their next player. the next French player that goes to the line. So we're just going to see if they have what it takes to, if they have what it takes to seal the game out and close the game finally, because this game has been going on way longer than it really should have. I expected this game to be over already by the time this fourth segment started, but hey, this is a great game to be watching right now. And I'm sorry that I'm not looking directly at the camera. The TV is over there. And I'm sorry that I can't really display the game because, media rights and things like that. But still, this game is getting very, very competitive right now. And it's all down to France hitting these free throws. It's Isaiah Cordinaire, one of the better players for France, that's going to go to the line and seal the game for France. And the way that this game has been going, the French had a lead. And, okay, he made the free throw, and now the score is 72-69. But they had the lead before, right? But then Germany started to get closer and closer and closer. And then the crowd sort of got into it. And I think maybe the home field advantage is really getting to these German players. And more so than I thought it was. Now, okay, France just sealed the game. The score is 73-69. He made both of the free throws. Unless they get a crazy and 1 3-pointer right here. And, yeah, no, he just heaved it from half court. Game's over. France advances all the way to the final round. And they have a chance to compete for silver now. Yay! France gets the silver medal. I'm saying this prematurely because I really think that the United States are going to just, advance and destroy them. So far, the bracket that I've had and the bracket that I said and the layout of this tournament has gone exactly as I planned, exactly as I predicted, just what I thought was going to happen. I knew that the home court advantage was going to give France the edge, and now all that's left is the United States to follow suit and beat the Serbian team and beat Nikola Jokic in the semifinal round to go play for gold. I knew this would happen, and this just goes to show you, the talent and around, the other leagues. And, usually these kinds of performances, you can easily predetermine who's going to make it. You can easily predetermine who's going to make it into these finals. This is why when you win in the NBA, you are called world champions. I know that's going to start up a lot of controversy because Noah Lyles, champion of what? But again, these Olympic Games, they're they're way more predictable than any of these other games that went down. I understand the thought process, it's never the best team that always advances, because there is a chance that, the best team and let's say the United States, there's a chance that the United States could start missing since it's single game eliminations. So it's not guaranteed that the best team would win every single time. I get that. I understand that. But this is the big reason why they call them world champions, because the United States, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to win the gold medal. On top of that, the best players in the NBA, the best players from around the world go and compete in the NBA. That's just an all-out fact. And I'm sorry that I'm veering off of this, but I just wanted to bring that up, because if the United States doesn't win gold, Noah Lyles is going to have a field day with the world championship talk. But again, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think the United States, they're going to easily win. They're going to win comfortably. France, they might give them a run for their money because Victor Wembanyama is so tall. But given how he played in this game, even with the home field advantage, I'm a little less scared of Wemby. I'm sorry to say it, but I am a little less scared of Wembanyama. He ended the game with 11 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks on 4 for 17 from the field. That is very inefficient shooting. Really, I think it's going to be down to how we stop Jokic. If we're able to stop Jokic, we'll be able to stop Victor. And speaking of Jokic, in the 5th segment, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the United States and their game plan to beating Serbia in these matchups. So I'm just going to talk about that right after this short break. So be sure to stay tuned for that, as I go ahead and I break down the segment as to what the game plan is to stop the Serbian team. So Tune in after this short break. And we are back with the fifth and the final segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this final segment, I'm going to go ahead and just talk about the United States and their game plan to stop this man right here. Yes, the United States, they're going to play against Serbia later today. And it's expected to be a very close and not really a very close matchup, but it's expected to be a very competitive game. And I'm really I'm looking forward to this game, but I really think, the United States is going to advance. But it is all going to be determined on just how well they play against, how well they can stop Jokic. If you can stop this man, then you essentially can make it all the way. You can easily win, and you can win the gold if you can stop this man right here. And you can advance, because, let's face it, Jokic is basically, the only player on the Serbian team that is even, the biggest threat. And so, naturally, the United States, they have to have a plan to stop Jokic, because if you let this man go off, he is going to destroy you. And one of the biggest, worries that I have is if Jokic decides to take this game very personally, because he lost in both of the games to the United States in blowouts, partly because he did not play the best basketball that he could. Now, if he can play the best basketball that he could, I'm not entirely sure if the United States is going to be able to easily dominate Serbia as they have in these previous matchups. So, you need a plan to stop Jokic, because I am afraid that Jokic might have a very good game in this final game, especially considering how clutch he is and how clutch he was in the matchup against Australia. But according to this article, over the last couple of years, the Lakers superstar Anthony Davis has had a number of battles with Jokic, and now he and Team USA are set for another showdown as they face a Jokic-led Serbian team in the semifinals of the 2024 Olympics on Thursday. Now, it should also be noted that Joel Embiid is experiencing some kind of cramps in his leg. Oh no, what a surprise. A game against Jokic and he doesn't feel 100%? Oh no! But that's just the reason why I'm being that sarcastic is, for those of you guys that don't know, it seems that every single time Jokic and Joel Embiid play, it's only in Philadelphia. Joel Embiid never, ever plays Jokic in Denver. Never. Now, there's obviously, I'm not going to say that Jokic plays well against Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid he dominates Jokic almost every single time, but he only does it at home. For some reason, he is afraid to play Jokic in Denver, which I don't understand. I think that's weak. I genuinely think that's mentally weak. And now with, the report that he's, allegedly feeling injured and things like that, there's going to be, a bunch of Joel Embiid fans saying, oh, this game doesn't count because he was injured. That's an excuse. I'm sorry, that's an excuse. But aside from my strong dislike for Joel Embiid, I do feel like Anthony Davis is the best answer that we have to stopping Nikola Jokic. Because, let's face it, Joel Embiid in these Olympics, he's been lazy, he's been a horrible defender, he hasn't been, nearly as important on the defensive side of the ball as you'd think, and on top of that, his lack of offense is just even more jarring with the fact that he's not performing well on the defense. Like, his lack of defense is more jarring now that he's not performing on offense. That's what I meant to say. So, Team USA has already beaten Serbia twice this summer, once in an exhibition and again in the group play. So, Jokic is known to take his game to another level in the highest stakes, and, it's been impossible to shut him down in these kinds of games. Now, Team USA, according to this article, has a strategy on limiting certain aspects of his game, as Anthony Davis spoke about following America's quarterfinal victory over Brazil. Now, the big man, he said, quote, obviously he can score the basketball in multiple ways, from the three, the post, the mid-range. We just got to take away one thing, Davis said in an interview with NBC and on Tuesday. We've been able to take away his assists, getting other guys involved. If he scores and shoots the ball, then he scores and shoots the ball. We want to take away his assists, but we'll have a game plan ready, kind of switching it up, knowing that these rounds are a little different. They had a tough game tonight, but I know they'll be ready for Thursday, and so will we. So, of all the aspects of Jokic's game that they're going to try and limit, they're going to try and limit his assisting. And I think that is really the best way to go about it. Like, make Jokic beat you. And, a lot of people, they might make the argument that, you would rather not want to see Jokic beat you, and you'd want to get the other players involved so that way Jokic doesn't beat you. But that's the thing. Like, Jokic is so good at getting other players involved that it might be your downfall if you try to prevent Jokic from, being so good and succeeding, right? Like, one of the biggest game plans to stopping Michael Jordan was, especially with the Detroit Pistons, was to limit his game and make somebody else win the game for you. The difference between MJ and Jokic is that Jokic can get other players involved so much easier and so much better than Michael Jordan could, that it's not like you were left, helpless when... It's not like Jokic is left helpless out there and alone. Like, he's able to get these players involved and able to get them into a groove and able to give them easy looks at the basket and easy shot attempts, that it just, it'll ultimately get them into a rhythm and it'll give him the help that he needs. Whereas for Michael, for example, you'd have to just stop him, and if you stop him, nobody else on the team can generate any kind of offense. But it's different. It's a different strategy when you're going into, you want Jokic to score as much as he can. And that's really, you're losing in either way. Jokic, he's a hyper-efficient scorer, but you have to limit him in some way. So I think the only real way to limit him is how well he can get others involved. It's almost impossible to stop Jokic in the post. Almost impossible. There's no guarantee that you're going to be able to stop him unless he has a really bad night. And that rarely happens. So the only thing that you can really limit is how often he passes the ball and how often he gets players involved. If you can take that away, then you have a better chance in stopping him. If you can't take either of those away, then you lost. And that's really that's what makes Jokic so difficult, because it's yes, he's a great scorer, so you have to double team, but he's also one of the best passers that we've seen in this league, and he will get other players involved if you are too busy doubling him. It's really just, he has eyes at the back of his head. That's really how it works. And it's just really difficult to stop him. But let me know in the comments if you agree with the strategy. Do you think that you should focus on limiting Jokic's passing, or do you think you should try and focus on limiting Jokic's scoring? Because both are very impossible to stop. But that's all that I have on this final segment. That is the game plan that the United States is going to go with before, going into this match against Jokic. Hopefully it works, because it doesn't seem like the Serbian team has any other, standout players aside from, Bogdanovic and Jokic. Those are like the two only fantastic players on the team. But even then, like, hopefully Jokic doesn't go off for a ridiculous, like, I don't know, maybe 25, 10, and 10 kind of game. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But again, the United States should have enough firepower to combat that. But that's all I have for this final segment. That's all I have for this show as well. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about, this matchup, what you guys expect. I really hope that the United States, they end up winning. But thank you so much for tuning into the GSMC Basketball Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. As usual, please remember to use the link in the description to get your comments recognized, or the link displayed below the ticker on every show segment, as well as the super chat and the super sticker features that we have on the live. It really helps the show, makes it much more interactive between myself and you guys. And that's all I have for you today on this segment. Thank you so much for tuning in. Congratulations to the French team for competing and for being able to get a shot at winning the gold medal. And tune into the United States game between Serbia, because I think that's going to be a competitive game. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nelson, and as always, take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.